Today's Algebra 1 video covers the homework assignments from 11:15 and 11:18, as well as the tests from Friday 11:15 and the benchmark number 2 test from Monday 11:18. The objective today will be to factor a binomial or trinomial expression. Today's objective: factor polynomials by using the greatest common factor. This is the objective. We've already learned this. The purpose of the lesson isn't to reteach the greatest common factor. Here's an example. We're going to factor 6x squared y plus 3x to the third y to the second. In order to do this, you have to know what the greatest common factor is. What is the highest number that comes out of 6 and 3? 3. What's the lowest power of x?
X2.
X to the second. Lowest power of y? Y. Now you have to go back and figure out what you have to multiply 3x squared by to get this and to get this. 3 times what is 6? So you start with a 2. X squared times what gives you x squared? 1. So there's no need to write the 1. You don't write the 1 because if you did it would be 21. X squared times 1 is x squared. You don't write 1. Y times what is y? 1. You don't write the 1. You only write 1 if you have nothing else in there and it's just blank. Keep that sign from the middle. 3 times what is 3? 1. There's no need to write it yet. If you end up with nothing else, then you'll have to put a 1. X squared times what is going to give me x to the third? X squared times something gives me x to the third. What is x times x? Not 2. Not 1. X times x. X squared, yes. So what would I have to multiply x squared by to get x to the third? X. Now we go, y times something is y squared. Not 2, not 2y, just y. It's just y. We already have that answer. Y times y is y squared. Here is your solution, except you have to put it in the right form. You want descending powers of x inside your parentheses. 3x squared y stays the same, but you write xy plus 2 to put it in order. Negative 2x to the fourth y to the third minus 6x to the third y squared. What is the highest number that we can take out of negative 2 and 6? You can't take a 3 out of 2. Negative 2, yes. Anytime you start your expression with a negative, you're going to be factoring out a negative. If this first term starts with a negative, you're going to factor out a negative. And I can take out a negative 2. Negative 2 times what is negative 2? 1. So we don't write it unless we have to because nothing else shows up. Negative 2, and I've got to go back and take this out real quick. I put parentheses in before I was ready. We haven't finished factoring this out yet. What is the lowest power of x? X to the third, and what about y? Y to the second. Alright, now negative 2, as we already said, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. So you don't have to write the 1 unless there's nothing else to put there. X to the third times what is x to the fourth? X. Y to the second times what is y to the third? Not x. Y. Now you have a minus sign here. You have factored out a negative. You have a minus sign here. Negative 2 times what will give me a negative 6? What kind of 3? Negative times what gives me a negative? Positive, right. Negative 2 times positive 3 will give me a negative 6. So you put plus 3. Now x to the third times what is x to the third? It's just 1. So there's nothing to write here. Y squared times what is y squared? 1. So you don't write anything there. So we finished that off, and you have to put it in order. It's already in order, but I have some circles and some markings in there. So here's a cleaner version. Well, that should have been cleaner, but it's not. A little bit better. What's the highest number you can take out of 9, 6, and 12? 3. What's the lowest power of x?
X squared.
X squared. 3 times what is 9?
3.
Alright, 3 times 3 is 9. X squared times what is x to the third? X. 3 times what is 6? 2, yes. So you're going to put minus 2. If your sign out front here is positive, you just keep the sign of what's in there. X squared times what is x to the fourth? Not 2x, not x2, x squared. We don't call it x2, it's called x squared. We do not create our own language. You must have x squared. 3 times what is 12? 4. So we'll have a minus 4, and x squared times what is x squared? 1, so you don't have to write it. Put your expressions in descending power of x inside the parentheses. So we have negative 2x squared plus 3x minus 4. The highest number that will come out of 18 and 27 is 9. The lowest power of x is x squared. The lowest power of y is y squared. 9 times 2 is 18. X squared times 1 is x squared, and y squared times y to the fourth is y to the sixth. 9 times 3 is 27. X squared times x squared is x to the fourth. Y squared times y squared is 1. Now put these in order. If you don't have x's here and here, then you can do it like this. Negative 3x squared plus 2y to the fourth, and I've put that in alphabetical order. Descending powers of x come first, and then alphabetical order is next if you only have an x and a y, and so forth. We'll do this one together. What's the lowest power of x? X to the third. And what is the lowest power of y? Y to the fifth. X to the third times what is y to the fourth? X. Y to the fifth times y to the fifth, or no, y to the fifth times something is y to the fifth. 1, we don't write it. What sign goes down? Minus, that's because we have a positive out here, so you keep the sign that was inside. X to the third times what is x to the third? 1, no need to write it, at least not yet. And y to the fifth times something is y to the sixth, just y. So that's it, it's x to the third, y to the fifth, times the quantity x minus y. For your homework tonight, the requirements are the following. Before you get any cameras out, pay close attention to the directions. You write the problem, and then you work it out underneath of it.